project that brings together a number of organisations and crucially older people from Salford to investigate and hopefully make a difference to older people's lives since the COVID-19 pandemic. This project has been about what has happened since that point. How have people perhaps got back to normal? What kinds of things have changed for older people? What sorts of things have altered that perhaps will never go back to as they were before? So, for example, one of the things that we've been doing is undertaking focus groups with service providers about their experiences of supporting older people since the pandemic. We've been working with Age Friendly Salford Network to complete an audit of age-friendly environments and age-friendly standards across the city. And what we're also doing is bringing all of this information from these different sources together to present our findings to other people who we hope will be able to take those findings, learn from them and implement them in policies or strategies or interventions or activities, so that as a consequence of this work, life for older people across Salford can be as good as possible. The second thing that we've been doing has been working closely with older people from across the city to really explore what we call their lived experience or their day-to-day experience of life has been like for them. And they've been working on a photo voice inspired project. We know that there was a lot of loss in terms of meeting up with other people or where that people could go during the pandemic, but so too was there a loss in terms of people's ability to engage or continue to be involved in different sorts of community groups and also different kinds of community spaces. So there was clearly reduced face-to-face interaction, and while some people we spoke to were able to replace that face-to-face interaction with more online connections with people, we know that there was still a really profound effect on many people for not being able to connect to others in the way that we once could. The other issue though that we found is that older people fared better when they felt empowered and were able to make decisions about their lives, even though we know that the wider context within which all of us were making decisions were really difficult and really constrained. But those people we spoke to who felt that they could continue to meet people, albeit online, who felt that they could ask for and received support when they needed it, tended to fare better through the pandemic. What we found is that those individuals who perhaps didn't have the social networks or who didn't feel they had the confidence to ask for support really struggled as a consequence. As we move beyond the pandemic, what we can start to see is that local places really matter to people because of the kinds of social connections and social relationships and interactions that they can afford. We've learnt that community organisations did really sterling work helping people to get online, and that did overcome some of the losses in terms of social connection, but we also know that those organisations could not help everybody, and those losses have continued today. There is still a legacy of people who have struggled to get online and now tell us that they are finding it difficult to rejoin face-to-face activities as well. So the people that we spoke to didn't sit back almost as though they were passive victims of the pandemic, waiting as a vulnerable population for things to pass so that they could go outside and for life to get back to normal again. But what that also tells us is when we think about age-friendly communities and age-friendly places is that we don't just have to think about physical places, the streets and the neighbourhoods that we get out and about into, but the digital realm is also a place where older people now visit, particularly since the pandemic. And I think age-friendly initiatives and networks have a role to play in supporting that ethos. What we find is that older people are able to adapt and are able to get through really challenging situations so long as there is support around them and so long as they are also able to ask for support themselves. And one of the key things that has emerged from this is that old people are also able to offer that support to other people too.